been training at that level since. So yeah, started as an instrumentalist. I played French horn in high school as well, so I was, very much in both the instrumental and choral world in high
Okay.
school. Um, and I feel that, yeah, that kind of really strongly influences me still today. So,
And did you pick up violin again then after you were healed? Do you still play? Or-
so I tried to. Unfortunately, when they did the surgery, it wasn't. They didn't actually go in and fix anything. They could just kind of reset it and let it heal.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
so the way it healed, it just became painful to play for longer periods of time. So I kind of had to give up those dreams. But
Oh, that's bad.
but you know, so yeah. So I don't rollerblade.
Yeah, I tried. I picked that back up in grad school, and but I don't think I could do that now. I've got roller skating with my daughters, and it's pretty. I'm like pretty scary. So okay, and so you said went to school in Muscatine for high school, went to Juilliard for your undergraduate degree, and then what other schools did you have you been at for your other degree?
Yeah, so then after I was in New York, I kind of got burnt out from the big conservatory training, and I wanted to be close to home. So the University of Iowa was just a really good fit for me. So I came back and I did both my master's and my DMA at the University of Iowa, but I did have 7 years in between where I was teaching. So I did Juilliard straight into master's, then a break for teaching, and then came back and did my DMA at Iowa.
Okay, great. And let's see, did you kind of always knew you started violin? What age were you when you started violin?
Um, I was in elementary school. I can't remember exactly, but yeah,
And
it was.
you always wanted to do music?
I think it was one of those things. I when I started violin, because actually it was just an after school program. Um, my parents, like many parents, needed someone to watch the kids after school. So they signed us up for after school programs, and violin was on there. And
Oh,
so I was like, that just sounds cool. Um, so I signed up. It wasn't necessarily I was like, oh, I need to study the violin. Um, so I signed up because of that after school program, and then I was like, I want to continue this.
okay. So yep, those in music school music programs are so important, and lessons and trying
Yes.
things. So um and tell us, how long have you been teaching? What's kind of your experience with teaching privately in academia?
Yeah, so I've been teaching, I say I've been teaching since 2010 when I finished my master's, but I had been doing some teaching during my master's. I had an assistantship at the university, but also had a small private studio. But I just to make it easy, just say 2010 is when I started. And so I taught both privately and at the collegiate level. I've kind of maintained both while I've had that. Um, the private studio has mainly been high school level and up, so helping a lot of students just throughout the years with various auditions, getting ready for college auditions, solo and ensemble pieces, piece preparation. And then at the collegiate level, yeah, I've kind of been teaching. Since then, I've taught at a number of places, Drake University, Knox College, Kirkwood. Um, Augustana College, and then most recently I was at the University of South Dakota for 4 years teaching voice and opera.
Awesome. So lots of teaching experience at many different levels. So that's what's so wonderful, because a lot of our faculty has, you know, either higher degrees and also many years of teaching experience. So that's one of the things we pride ourselves on at the studio. Um, what would you say is your teaching philosophy?
So I would say my teaching philosophy is really um, working with the students to empower them to become essentially self-sufficient musicians that are just comfortable and knowledgeable in how their instrument is for them. Everyone has a different instrument. Everyone wants to do something different with their voice. So it's just, empowering the student to be comfortable and confident in what they want to do. And also just feel like they have a voice in the process. You know, I don't, my teaching style, I don't necessarily just like tell you what to do. I ask questions because I want you to be able to have that curiosity for yourself. So,
Yes, and I think that's one of the reasons at Kirkwood, you know, that we all get along so well. So we all kind of have a similar mentality in that regard. And I think our generation of teachers as well, because many of us did have teachers the way that it was very like, this is what you do, and you have to do it my way, and otherwise you're doing it wrong, right? And
right, right. And it was a lot of, I'm telling you what to do and I'm showing you what to do,
yep.
but there wasn't a lot of like, all right, so tell me, how did that feel for you? What were you doing? Sort of thing. So I think, yeah, a lot of us in our generation kind of have taken, I think, the good parts of our training, right?
Yes.
And adapted it to what we might have wanted as students for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, kind of have that opportunity. Because I think just as musicians, a lot of us are just naturally curious. And I find even the students that come in not really knowing what they want out of lessons start to get that excitement and like, oh, yeah, I do have this question that I didn't know I had before. So let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm. And some of them it can be kind of shocking at first because it's like, what did you hear? And they're like, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And I
What
always,
you want to work on? And then they'll be like, I don't know. You're supposed to be telling me. And so
yeah,
it's definitely a different skill, kind of different at first for students that haven't had that type of lesson or teaching, especially in the private music studio. So, how do you like to structure your lessons?
so I really like to structure my lessons kind of, I think the way that a lot of teachers just traditionally have structured lessons, there's kind of a technique portion and then a repertoire portion.
Mm-hmm.
However, I always kind of allow for flexibility. So whatever the student is needing, I kind of check in with them at the start of the lesson. You know, how are things going? Do you have something coming up? Um, is there anything that you're particularly wanting to focus on? And then just kind of structure that lesson based on that feedback. Because you know, sometimes, yes, we need to focus on the technique, but they're like, I have an audition that I just popped up, and I don't know this piece,
Yeah.
and I just need help. So I'm like, all right, let's kind of jump in, let's dig in and see what we can do to help you. So I do in general like to structure it. In terms of technique and then applying that to the repertoire. Um, and I think was fortunate in how I was trained, where my teacher kind of had a system and exercises that those really strengthened what was called for in a lot of the repertoire. So if
Mm-hmm.
you focus on that, chances are when you go to the repertoire, you're like, I was just working on this skill with this exercise. And then there really is that correlation between, it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna sing a scale on ah. Um, you know,
Hmm.
we need to do, right?
Right.
But yeah, so that's
Great.
kind of
Yeah.
how I like the structure.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really nice when you have that aha moments. Like sometimes it's not even necessarily like you knew you were going to work in that piece, but like the exercises you're doing are applicable to many. And yeah, it's always cool when that happens in the exact lesson or whatever. So awesome. Let's see. So you already talked about, I guess some of this is redundant. I need to update some of these questions, but you already said you tend to work on in lessons, literature, technique, and repertoire. Do you have any favorite uh, vocalises or technique books you like to use, or any favorite music books or workbooks for students that you like to use in your lessons?
Yeah, so I have about three or four that I tend to go between. I really like, so there's Vakai practical method I use with a lot of my students. What I like about that is that it kind of builds based on interval. So the first one is just stepwise scale motion. The second one focuses on singing thirds. The next one is on fourths, and it goes all the way to octaves. And really just helps, especially as a teacher, teach the student in connecting through all of that clarity of tone, clarity of vowel, learning how does my voice operate in these various intervals? So I use the Vakai a lot. Concone has two that I also utilize. There's a lot of one of them has starts with it's a lot of portamenti work, so it's working a lot on portamento, get that feel of the breath connection to the tone. So I utilize those mostly with some of my older students, but some of them are a little more simple that I work with younger students as well. So I generally tell the students, let's give a try, see which one's kind of fitting you, what you need at this moment in time, and then we'll kind of continue along that path. Because I really do love to tailor it exactly to what that student needs, what they want to use their voice for, the style they want to sing.
Mm-hmm.
Because different styles are going to need different set of tools. Um, and I just want to help singers be as prepared as they can be for whatever they want to do. I myself mainly sing classical music, but I've done musical theater. I've done musical theater productions, sing a lot of standards, concerts, and things like that. So I kind of utilize the tools I've learned and learned how to adjust it for what I'm needing. So hoping to give the students the same set of skills to do that.
Yes, yes, I know. I think we've all had to, if we study classically, have had to kind of build those other tools up that maybe we didn't get in the, classical setting. And so we've gotten pretty good at being generalists in certain regards as well. So, and Chris just said, just left a comment about he's one of our teachers, guitar and fretted strings. Love the correlation between technique studies to the real world and the application. And it's also kind of cool too when you can apply it to different styles as well. Like, I think a lot of my students have been interested in doing riffing and all of that, and it's very similar to the coloratura and all of that in
Yeah.
the setting. So it definitely a lot of transference of skills.
Yeah, yeah. And it's one of those things too, even if you're not necessarily familiar with a certain style, like Natalie Weiss does some amazing videos, teach like, the breaking down the riffs and kind of
Mm-hmm.
teaching things. And I'm like, that's very similar to how I used to learn like a Rossini aria,
Yeah.
things like that. So it's kind of seeing people that are kind of the top of their game in their genre and seeing that crossover. So
Yeah, I always love that. Yeah, when I can see, I mean, I know some people don't like influencers and all of that, but I like it when I find one that knows what they're talking about, and it's like the same thing we've talked about in lessons, and I can be like, see, this person also is saying basically the same thing we're doing in our lessons, and just makes it fun for students to see that.
yeah.
What would you say is your favorite skill to teach?
So I really do a lot of breath work with students. I think too that's something that across all age ranges can really is just going to be beneficial,
Mhm.
especially kind of students on the younger end where their voices are still just changing and shifting on a daily basis. If you can offer them a little more grounding in the breath, that's going to help carry them as things are adjusting and growing. So I do a lot of work with breathing, a lot of, is they're at the in the Kirkwood studio. There's the anatomy things, just kind of pointing out like, yeah, this is where we think this is where we want to feel things, kind of explaining things like that, because we hear things from a lot of our professors, right? It's like breathe from the diaphragm. Okay, what does that mean? How is that actually applicable? And let's break down what they meant to say
Mhm.
and how that applies to what you're doing. So breathing is kind of the big thing. I often will tell a lot of my students the foundations of what I teach are breathing and clear, consistent vowels. Those two things, no matter what style you're listening to, if you
Mhm.
listen to the top artists, even if they are doing it consciously or subconsciously, that's what they're doing.
They have. Yeah, love that. Yeah, I like having those anatomy posters to reference, and I feel like students of all ages like seeing. And if some of them are a little, sometimes it's because we have the pictures right of the vocal fold. Sometimes they're a little like, oh, but mostly
Yeah.
they get interested, and it makes it less, what I must say, weird when they have to see that later. They've already been exposed to it and
Yeah.
and know that anatomy going in. So that's great.
Yeah, I had a student just yesterday too. It would kind of you know, we're dealing with some allergies, so singing maybe wasn't the best choice of activity for that day. But I'm like, would you feel comfortable seeing a video of a scope? And she was like, yeah, I would. And like we talked through it, and she's like, I never would have imagined that that is the process, but I'm so glad I know what is going on. Even if I can't feel and see, like, it's just cool information to have.
Yeah, to see, and that's such a great example of being able to use lesson time, even if you're maybe not at your fullest healthy self, but it's not necessarily like something that you're contagious or whatever. Like you can still get a lot of really good, important work done at the same time. So awesome. Yeah, I love that. Can you tell us a little bit about what lesson offerings then you're going to have at the studio here?
Yeah, so I offer both the 45 and 60-minute lessons. And I do a lot of work with kind of musical theater and classical, but do also work with a lot of students, as you know, at Kirkwood. Sorry, my phone is slipping here.
Oh, no.
Do a lot of work with students on other styles, some of the more contemporary commercial styles as well.
Yeah, great. Okay, so 45 and 60-minute lessons. Yeah, I switched to only offering those a while back, and 30 minutes is just not enough time to get really anything useful done. So
Yeah.
what would you say is, I suppose this is a little bit with your teaching philosophy, but what is kind of your intended studio culture and any like accomplishments of your students, you know, in the past or recently that you want to share or?
Yeah, in terms of studio culture, I really want to create a free, open kind of environment because we kind of, as singing is very personal, right? It is inside of us. We cannot change that natural sound that we have, right? Violinists can change from an instrument that has a brighter tone to one that has a more mellow tone. Changing the bow will change. We don't have that option. So
Right.
asking people to make adjustments to something that feels so personal, I think people need to feel comfortable, need to feel free, and yeah, just it's a culture of no judgment in the studio because everyone's learning at their own pace, everyone's growing at their own pace. We're dealing with the body, right? Everyone's body works differently. So yeah, just that culture of no judgment, meeting everyone where they are at that moment, because we're different day to day.
Yeah.
So meeting where you are, where you are at that moment, and just feeling free again to have that conversation because that's a part of it, you know, feeling comfortable to have that conversation as well. And yeah, student accomplishments. I have a number of students that I send a lot of students to Nats with some of my schools. So some students have done pretty well in Nats. I have a student that got into grad school at the University of Denver, now there. That's a student that came in not wanting to perform and now is getting a degree in opera. Um, so it's, yeah, just encouraging students to be open to the possibilities.
Yeah, and exploring, and yeah, that's so exciting. Well, great. Um, how do you balance being a gigging musician and teaching, and also home life, I guess, within that?
Yeah, that's always been a tricky thing, right? Especially for a lot of us that really do everything in this field. Um, it really is just making sure that I'm allowing myself to kind of rest as needed. Um, I I kind of mentioned earlier there are some teachers that do a lot of demonstration. I tell my students from the very beginning, I do not demonstrate a lot. I'm not going to demonstrate a lot of technical things. I will explain it to you. I might sing something musically to show you something like that. But if I were to sing for every single student in every lesson. First of all, they're not paying me to hear me sing. They're paying me to teach them how to sing, right? But second, that balance, if I have a performance coming up and I have tired my voice out all week, I'm not going to be in my best shape to do the performing. So it's kind of utilizing a lot of just knowing when to rest. Yeah, and especially, the email thing. It's like, okay, I have to set down. This is my time to take care of emails. This is my time to do this. This is my time to do this. And making sure that I'm including personal time, right? Personal
Yes.
time with my family, personal time for my crafts, things like that. So but I enjoy doing all of it. So it's kind of fun to figure out that balance in a way.
Yes, yes. I think that that's a skill for any teacher, new or at any point, you reach a point where it's like, oh, I cannot be modeling this much. I can't be um, using my voice this much because I only have so much capacity each day. And yes, and I think I know I've heard many people say the one who's doing the singing is the one who's doing the learning. So we want the student to be singing, and that's the most important. So, uh, well, and you said some personal time, and what other hobbies do you have outside of music then that you like to do when you do have some personal time?
Yeah, so I have recently picked up sewing with the sewing machine. I make a lot of tote bags. I also have made aprons for friends. It's one of those things that I find it just allows me to just focus on something completely different
Mm-hmm.
than what I'm doing. Kind of lets me get into a different type of zone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, so I love to do sewing. Um, I also do loom knitting as well, and so I mainly stick to scarves with that. But again, I kind of do these things as gifts for other people,
Uh-huh.
um, and I love baking. I just for health reasons cannot eat everything I bake, so it's again I give a lot of it away. But I absolutely love baking, um, particularly. Um, my family's Mexican. I'm Mexican, so Mexican sweetbreads is something I love exploring in the kitchen. So
Awesome. I think we had another. Oh, your
yeah,
Rob sent put a little message. So thanks for watching, Rob. With love from Texas. So love that. And do you have any special music related projects you're currently working on or have recently done that you want to share about?
so I am currently building a couple of different recital programs, all focused on Spanish language music. So I have programs of because Spanish language music is not something we learn so much about in school, but there is so much out there. So I have a full program of just Mexican art song. I also have another program of Latin American art song that includes Puerto Rico, Mexico, Venezuela, Guatemala, Argentina, and then a more general Spanish program that has European Spanish mixed with Latin American Spanish. So I'm really excited for kind of building those and getting those out because that's what I love exploring is the Spanish language repertoire. So I'm really excited for those upcoming projects.
Awesome. And you have a CD and an album.
Yep.
Well,
Yep. It's called Finding a Voice. It's released through MSR Classics. It is all it's complete Mexican song cycles. Some of them are the first time the entire cycle has been recorded in its entirety. There are a number of them where they may have been recorded before, but in an unpublished transposition. This is the first time a number of them are recorded in their published keys. Um, and for some of them, yeah, like I said, there's maybe 2 out of the 7 tracks have been recorded, but here there's all seven. So I wanted to make sure that they were all complete cycles. And they're all from the time period that I tend to specialize in, which is the post-revolutionary Mexico, so after 1920.
Okay, awesome. Well, if anyone wants to have, if you have any other questions, if you're watching the replay, we will all kind of manage that and answer that. Otherwise, I'll put Dr. Mendoza's link to our page at Dynamic Music Studios. He does have some other, you'll mostly be teaching on Thursdays and Fridays to start, right?
Yes.
At our space. But he does have some openings, I think, on Monday in Tiffin.
Yes.
So he has a few options if you're interested in lessons. So feel free to reach out to us at Dynamic Music Studios and we can get you in touch with him. And otherwise, thanks so much for hanging out with us and for chatting today. And we're excited to have you at the studio. And everyone, I hope you have a good weekend. We've got our Halloween recitals coming up at the end of the month. And we're still enrolling students for, we have a new piano teacher that's back with us. So we have another piano teacher on board and we offer lessons otherwise in basically all the band and string instruments as well as piano and voice. So thanks so much, Dr. Mendoza, and we'll see everyone else. Have a great day.
Yep.